What is up, my loyalist friends and enemies of the Imperium? This is another video about me talking about Warhammer 40,000 and coughing like I'm a cancer patient. Alright, so now let's get to it. And let's continue talking about the Guard. So, let me refine what I was talking about before a little bit more. Is with the Guard and how they roll. One of the biggest advantages that they have is cheap infantry. Yeah, they are not the worst infantry in the game. They're not the best infantry in the game. But they are some of the cheapest infantry for what they do. So you can get a lot of infantry for really cheap. And secondary is their vehicles. Their mainline tank is cheaper than most other mainline tanks, and it does quite a lot. It can do quite a lot. And that tank is a Lehman Russ. That's the mainline battle tank. Its main turret weapon's pretty good. You can shoot twice with it. If you move under half distance, it can have a hull weapon that's a heavy flamer, a heavy bolter, or a las cannon, which I usually take las cannons and heavy bolters, just so I can get more shots down range or more powerful shots depending on what kind of role that I'm using my tanks as. And then you can have the sponsons. The sponsons are two heavy weapons that are attached to the side that can be heavy bolter, heavy flamers, multi-meltas, two multi-meltas, so 4 shots total, and two plasma cannons. So you can have either of those. The plasma cannons I like, just because of range and if you play Cadians, you can reroll ones. And it's D3 damage. Or not D3 damage. It's 3 damage when it's supercharged. No, 2 damage when it's supercharged. AP minus 3, and it has 60 or 36 range. Alright. So, as I was saying in my first video about that, is not enough people ever bring Guard. Is you have all these new people starting, they just want to play the tanks and they keep losing, and they're saying the Guard sucks because they can't win, blah blah blah. It's literally because they're not bringing enough infantry. They are only bringing half. Come on, the minimum is 60 infantry and 2 company commanders. That is your base. Everything, you always put that in your list, and then everything else builds off from there. I usually like to have a few chimeras, at least 2 chimeras in the list, just so I could put some Guard in there and then roll them up. That does amazing work, just having those Guard in the tanks or in the transporters. The transporters can take a beating. They can shoot out of it, and transporters, I usually put 3 heavy bolters on it, just so I can pump out a little bit more damage. So that's good. That's one of my main distractions, is having a Guard squad in one of the chimeras and having 2 of those, so pushing them up. Then also, I like to use sentinels. Sentinels, yes, those AT, those walkers, the chicken walkers, etc., whatever you call them. Those guys, they just think of them as a 40-point weapons platform. I usually like to use a scout. Mix between the scout and the heavy, or the armored up one. So the scout is really good because the scout allows you to do an extra movement. So at the beginning of the game, you can pretty much use a stratagem that's like Go Patrol or Go Scout Sentinel, something dumb like that. Scout Sentinels get to use their 8-inch movement like 8 or 10 inch movement, I forgot. They're 8-10 inch movement, moving up. That's just at the beginning of the game. And they're only 40 points, and that includes like their heavy weapon too. I usually like having them with rocket launcher or multi-melta, depending on their use. And the great thing too about that stratagem is that the stratagem also gives them +2 to their shots for that first turn. So before the game, they move up. So they're usually in range. And then if you go first, that's definitely when you want to use it, so that they can move up before the game starts, and then your turn activates. You move everyone else, and you keep your scouts, scout sentinels still, not move them. And then they're able to shoot and hit things on a 2+. Guard hitting on a 2+. Woo! Especially a guard vehicle hitting on a 2+. And it's not a character. Now that's pretty badass. Go up there with a freaking multi-melta or rocket launcher. Oh yeah. If I know I'm going to be fighting a lot of vehicles, I use a lot of melta, a lot of las. Because melta, especially melta's gotten so much better. Yeah, it's still a lot shorter range than most las. Like las is 48 inches and D6 damage, AP 3, strength 9. Multi-melta is a strength 8, AP -4, and D6. But if you're within half range, it suddenly becomes D6 +2, which is like, dude, just getting that +2 so much better. Yeah, you roll a 1, guess what? You're rolling, you do 3 damage. Oh hey, I rolled a 6. Yeah, you're dealing 8 damage now. So yeah, that's pretty badass. I love that. Yeah, and it just really the whole little thing and how to load up everything is depending on what you're fighting. Yeah, sometimes it's like on Battle Scribe, I have like 5-6 different lists of the exact same army. Well, probably not 5-6, but like 3-4 of the exact same army. It's just that everyone has different weapons. I have the all-rounder. It's pretty much just a mix between weapons that makes them all like where they can pretty much fight any threat. So mostly rockets that I'm carrying around to do stuff. And then I have like the heavy armor lists where I pretty much replace everything with las cannons and multi-melta as much as I can. Oh, excuse me. And then the next one is where I am fighting hordes, like orcs or tyranids and things like that. I'm fighting armies like that. And it's just mostly like heavy bolters or auto cannons, flamethrowers, plasma guns, stuff like that. So, like my guard squad, I would most likely have that guy, like with a hordes list, is sergeant with a bolter, power sword, special weapon dude with a plasma gun or a flamer, depending on what I'm really going to be fighting. But plasma's always good to have, just because of that minus AP and the range and just the utility of it being rapid fire weapon. And then for the heavy weapon, I would run a heavy bolter or an autocannon. Just because the heavy bolter 3 shots, but the autocannon, that's like I would definitely use autocannon against orcs. If I'm fighting orcs, yeah. But if I'm fighting tyranids, it would be heavy bolter. And the same thing with flamer. If it's tyranids, yeah, flamer, orcs, it would be the plasma. Yeah, and then, yeah, just have everything where just as much shots as you can pump out. But alright then, guys, I'm at Safeways, Albertsons, and I'm going to be getting some stuff. So, thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and always live the kill out.